Sione Hala, Boston College's highest rated recruit, will join us today to talk about his journey to Boston College, his relationship with Jeff Hafley, and much more on an episode of Locked On Boston College you will not want to miss. This is Locked On Boston College, AJ Black. I am the host of Locked On Boston College. I hope you are all having a great Friday. On today's show, we're going to be joined by four-star safety/linebacker Sione Hala from St. John Bosco in California, who's going to talk to us about his journey to BC. It's an interview you do not want to miss. Also, we are going to have staff writer Mitchell Wolfe on. He's going to give us a variety of his predictions. That's also coming up later in the show. But first, let's kick it off with a little bit of news talk. Now, it was a quiet day on Thursday for Boston College. There was no injuries, thank goodness. There was really no news. However, in the grand scheme of things, there was news that is worth talking about. And that was the news that Pac-12 football is not going to look to expand. Now, why is this important and how does this affect Boston College? Here's why. Well, Pac-12 is part of that alliance. They are part of those three conferences that are, joining forces to do God knows what. I mean, other than scheduling, they're having a unified vision of college football. That's great. But the Pac-12 was reportedly going to possibly look at other teams to join. Most likely poaching the Big 12 or what's left of the Big 12. However, this news today shows that the Pac-12 is not going to pick apart the Big 12. They're not going to go after Oklahoma State or Texas Tech or Texas TCU. That's big news. And here's why. The ACC could have also jumped in and the Big Ten could have as well and tried to pick some of the teams off of them. Now, the big name for the ACC would have been West Virginia, a team that really doesn't bring a ton in terms of financial, implications, but it would have been a team that they probably would have added if the ACC brings in Notre Dame. So with the Big 12 basically looking to stay intact now, that changes how we can view the future of college football. Right now, it looks like the Big 12 is going to add some teams. And the teams that I've heard, teams like BYU, Memphis, Cincinnati, and Houston, those are all teams I heard rumored to be a team to be added to the Big 12. Now, are they Texas? Are they Oklahoma? No, they're not going to add that type of revenue. However, you could look ahead and say, hey, Cincinnati, Luke Fickell's got that program going in the right direction, and they've historically had some success. They could be a program that could, in the right environment, flourish. Good investment. Same thing with Memphis. Memphis has had that history too. So you add these teams to the Big 12. All of a sudden, the Big 12 is nowhere near the SEC, but maybe it kind of battles the ACC. Maybe it battles the Pac-12. But in the long haul, it doesn't really impact what's going on with the alliance. It doesn't impact the SEC, their evil empire. It basically keeps things the way they are. Now, in a moment, we're going to have Sione Hala, a safety who's committed to Boston College. We're really excited. We're going to start having more and more recruits on our show, and Sione is the biggest one in this class so far. He's a 4-star compared on 247. He's a big name, and we're really, really excited to have him on. So you're going to want to check that out in just a moment. But before we get to Sione, let me tell you about the Locked On NFL preview. Starting on August 30th through September 8th, the Locked On's Ultimate Season Preview on the Locked On Podcast Network is taking you everywhere through every team and every division with the help of Odyssey's Ross Tucker and Jason La Canfora. Follow the Ultimate Season Preview 2021 feed on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts to tune in beginning August 30th. And let's get into Built Bar. Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. It's 100% covered in chocolate and it is delicious. You know what my favorite flavor is? It is coconut. You gotta check them out. They have these bars, they taste like a candy bar, but they're healthy too. There's 17 to 18 grams of protein, 130 to 180 calories, 4 to 5 grams of sugar, and they taste good. They don't have that gritty, grindy taste that you get with some of those other protein bars. Head on over to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKED15 and you'll receive 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at BuiltBar.com. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black here. I am joined by Sione Hala. He is a linebacker slash safety recruit for Boston College in the class of 2022. Sione, how you doing?
I'm doing great, sir. How are yourself?
I'm doing great. So, a lot of Boston College fans, they're really excited about the future of Boston College football, and your name pops up all the time when they're talking about it. And I think this is going to be a great opportunity for the fans to hear more about you. Can you talk a little bit about, your journey in terms of getting ready for college football? How did you get into football? Where are you from? All that good stuff, Sione.
Okay, so it started off playing football for the Chargers. I started off as a center, and then that went by. I was a center and a DN. So then that went by, and then I ended up playing running back my next year, and then I stick to running back, and then finally I got on the defensive side of the ball around 11 and 12, and ever since then I just been loving to hit, been loving to tackle.
And you're at St. John's Bosco, correct?
Yes, sir.
And, you play for one of the best high school teams in the country. What's that like?
It's great competing against great guys every day. It truly gets you better.
And so, you play for this school, a team that has national recognition. I'm over in Massachusetts, and I know your school and everyone. Yeah. But how does a school like Boston College catch your attention?
Boston stood out to me the most because one of the first things they told me was the plan after football. Nobody really told that to me, and I heard from countless people. I'd say everybody at Boston talking about the alumni, like the alumni, how they did at Boston, and I'd definitely like to be a part of that.
And who did you end up talking to first at BC?
I'm not sure if it was Coach Jason Quan or Coach Duggan, but yeah, it was one of those guys.
And what stood out about Boston College to you? Other than sorry, let me rephrase that because I've kind of already asked that. What about on the field kind of stuff? What was about their philosophy, their defense that really kind of stood out to you, Sione?
Well, starting off with the head coach, Coach Jeff Hafley, he's a great guy. I've heard nothing but great things about him. He's the DB wizard. Yep. I heard a lot of great things about that man, and I can't wait to be coached by him. And then we got Coach
Lokabu.
Yes, sir. Him. That's my guy too. He has another great defensive mind. Both coached in the league. And yes, sir.
So, you talk to these guys, and what position are they looking at you for? Are they looking at like a safety hybrid linebacker kind of thing, or are you looking more just as a defensive back?
Yes, sir. I'm definitely going to be a hybrid. Somewhere they can move me around a lot like they do right now in our St. John Bosco defense. I'm rushing off the edge, playing linebacker, and then playing safety as well. So right now they got me as that right now. It's just a defensive hybrid.
Awesome. Have you gotten to visit Boston College yet?
No, sir, but I'm going November 3rd.
Nice. Is there a game that weekend at home?
Yes, sir. Virginia Tech.
Oh, wow. That's the red bandana game, too. That's a big one for Boston College.
Yes, sir, it is.
Yep. So, you've looked at other schools. You looked at Boston College. What do you see as your future with this program? Where do you see BC going with you, in that defense?
Definitely, I see it going nothing but up. Having great guys. I know we have a lot of commits. I know we're one of the top in the ACC right now, and I know when I get there, our defense is going to be locked down.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of fans are really excited about. They see, a lot of fans have seen your tape and are excited. You're playing in the Polynesian Bowl, I believe, correct?
Yes, sir, in January.
Awesome. And do you have to travel for that, or how close is the Polynesian Bowl?
It's all the way in Hawaii.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're gonna be out there for a whole week, I think.
Awesome. And now, are you planning on watching a lot of BC football this fall?
Definitely. I plan on looking in on it, paying attention. I watched the press conference, so I'll definitely be tuned in.
Awesome. And what do you think of who are some players that have kind of caught up? Have you talked to any players on the team right now, or I don't even know if that's allowed or not? But
yes, sir. Jaden Woodby. He actually went to Bosco as well.
Oh, okay. What does he tell you about the program?
Nothing but great things. It's a great 4-year plan, and how he loves the coaching staff, and it's just a great atmosphere to be around.
Yeah, he's definitely a name that a lot of fans are really excited about. I know it's his first year. He's coming in from Florida State, and they're all looking forward to that. Now, are there any? I'm going to ask you a question about yourself. Are there any players fans want to know about like your vision of yourself, right? Who is a player, either NFL or college, that you kind of model your game after?
Does he currently have to play or?
No, it could be a veteran or a guy that's out of the league too.
Okay. Well, definitely in college, I feel like I'll get way faster. My ball skills will be way better, and I picture myself as kind of like an Ed Reed, Cam Chancellor type of guy, a guy that can play the ball and come down and hit.
Okay. So Sione, don't ever mention Ed Reed to any old school Boston College fans. There was a year, I'm going to give them flashbacks when I mention this. In 2001, BC played Miami when they were number 1 in the country, and BC was at like the 10-yard line marching in, and Ed Reed made this ridiculous interception to seal the win for the Hurricanes. Gives a lot of BC fans a lot of bad flashbacks there.
Let me switch that up. I'll say Sean Taylor.
Okay. I'm kidding with you. Maybe you can do it. You can return the favor to Miami in a couple of years, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And so I have to mention too, I talked to one of your teammates last week, Ty Lee.
Yes, sir. That's my guy right there.
Are you trying to get him to come to Boston College?
I've been telling all of them that got looked at by Boston College. I tell them we're on the come up. We're going to beat Clemson. I'm telling all that good stuff. We're on the come up. Can't wait.
And so my last question for you, Sione, is what is your goal at Boston College? Whether it's a team goal, like do you want to win the ACC? Do you have a professional goal? Like give me some of your goals of what you want to do when you hit Chestnut Hill.
Starting off, I definitely want to win the ACC first, and then, eventually win the championship. That's the main goal here. And in my opinion, defense wins championships. So that's what I'm all about.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sione, for coming on. And, a lot of Boston College fans, how can they find you on social media so they can follow you?
Riz, RIZ.HALA on Instagram, and Hala _ SIONE, Sione, my first name, on Twitter.
All right, Sione. Thank you so much, and good luck with the rest of your season, and hopefully we'll see you in Chestnut Hill in 2022.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Now, in a moment, we will be joined by staff writer Mitchell Wolfe to talk about the upcoming season and his predictions. But before we do that, it's that time of year again, and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron to start the football season. And as always, BetOnline is your #1 spot for all the pro and college football action this season. Get all the updated odds, props, and contests, including online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest and the world's largest $200,000 NFL Survivor contest open now at BetOnline. Head over to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 100% welcome bonus. Be sure to take advantage of their opening day super promo. Make a bet on the Thursday, September 9th season opener between the Super Bowl champion Bucs and the Dallas Cowboys, and if you lose, your wager will be refunded up to $25 for new customers only when signing up and using promo code NFL100. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait and take advantage of all the great offers available for the 2021 season. Make sure to use promo code LOCKEDON to get that 100% bonus when you go to BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. I am joined now with Mitchell Wolfe, who is my co-writer for BC Bulletin. If you've been checking out our website, he's been ranking every positional group and coaches on our site, and he gets into great detail. We have Mitch on today because on Saturday, college football opens with a slate of games I don't think anyone cares about, but it's college football, so who cares, right? But I want to get some of Mitch's takes on some of the big topics heading on in college football. Mitch, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I don't know who you think you're talking to if week 0 isn't circled on your calendar. So I'm thrilled for college football to be back on Saturday.
I was going over the games with my wife, and I was like, it's Indiana State against somebody, and there was like one like actual FBS game, but it was like 2 G5 schools. And I was like, I don't know, but I'll watch it.
So she's not thrilled for Brett Bielema's return to the Big Ten with facing upstart Indiana with Illinois.
Oh yeah, no. So yeah, we'll watch it. You know, when college football gets on, it's must watch. So Mitch, let's go over some of the big topics of college football right now. So next week is honestly the bigger week to look forward to. I know Boston College plays against Colgate, and that's not going to be much of a
marquee matchup. I don't know what you're talking about.
But the big game, the one everyone's talking about, is Clemson and Georgia. And I have said, and we talk about BetOnline.ag, one of my side bets, I have money on Georgia on this game. Who do you have in this one?
And I've been dithering on this one for a while. I'm going to go with Clemson, mostly because I just trust Dabo Swinney more than Kirby Smart in big games, which is something crazy to say, you know, if you thought about that a few years ago. But I trust Dabo more than I trust Kirby. I trust DJ Uiagalelei, that's the correct pronunciation, you're welcome, more than JT Daniels. But Georgia's defense is definitely superior. They've got a lot of NFL talent at every level of the defense. So that, like you said, it's definitely going to be the game to watch on Saturday.
And so that game could set things up. Yesterday on Locked On ACC, I was on there with Kenton Gibbs, who does he's a former NC State player. He was a defensive tackle in 2013. You're going to hear his comments on Andre Williams if you're not listening to the podcast. But he says that if Clemson loses to Georgia, watch out. There's going to be sharks in the water around Clemson this year. And he said Boston College could be a team that could take them out if they lose to Georgia. So interesting thought right there. Now, we're moving ahead. We're looking at the ACC. I want to know your thoughts, Mitch. If there's a team that could beat Clemson, who will it be? I mean, or take out Clemson and win the ACC? Is there one? And if, like, who has the best odds to do it?
I think I'm going to have to look at their schedule to see if they play, but I would imagine a team from the Coastal, either Miami or North Carolina. It's probably not a team in the Atlantic Division because NC State, like I've said in my rankings, is loaded at every position except quarterback, and that's what you need to beat Clemson. I'm not sure BC can really do it, so I would be reticent to say them. In terms of the rest of the teams in the ACC, yeah, they don't catch UNC or Miami, so you know if they get past Georgia, they're probably running the table again.
Okay, so now let's go into the playoffs. And you know, it seems like every team it's going to be the same powerhouse teams every single year. But maybe you have a different perspective. If you're going to pick 4 teams for the playoffs this year, Mitch, who are you picking?
Spoiler alert, I don't really have a different perspective. It's going to be the usual suspects. I'm pretty sure Alabama is going to come back and make it again. You know, they're breaking a new quarterback, but that hasn't really stopped them before. Ohio State's got another team breaking a new quarterback. They're probably going to be fine. They'll probably make it. But mostly because the rest of the Big Ten is pretty weak. I think Oklahoma's got a really good team. I think they actually have a shot at winning the whole thing this year, mostly because they actually have a defense this year, as opposed to the years in the past, and they've just had a great quarterback and no defense. So that's 1, 2, 3. Georgia's got a good shot. You know, if they beat Clemson and they, you know, hang tough with Alabama in the SEC championship, they could get in as a 1-loss team. Those are probably the 5 teams that I think have the best shot. It's going to be probably 4 of some combination of those teams making the Final Four. I don't really think there's some buzz around Texas A&M. I don't think that's legitimate. They're breaking in a lot of new starters as well. No team in the Pac-12 is probably going to run the table. No team in the SEC East or the Big Ten East, I think, or besides Ohio State, can really match up against the rest of them. So, you know, you're not really going to see anything breaking, you know, super different this year, unfortunately.
And who, if you had all those 4 teams, just cherry pick, who's going to win the national championship?
It's hard for me to pick against Alabama. So I think if I were betting money on BetOnline.ag, I would put my money there. But you know, if we get to the end of the year and Oklahoma's run the table and they've been a pretty solid team, which wouldn't shock me, I would be comfortable picking them in a head-to-head matchup.
I know you've mocked me before. I am going heavy with the black and red on this. I have on BetOnline, I have bets on Georgia beating Clemson. I have bets on Georgia winning the national championship. And I have bets on JT Daniels winning the Heisman Trophy. So
I don't mind the rest of Georgia. I'm just not sure I trust. I mean, I think JT Daniels is going to be a very good player this year. I think he probably could, you know, get some all SEC honors, but he just doesn't strike me as the type of quarterback that's going to win you those big games.
So one more national question. And I before we talked, I had mentioned ACC coaches, but I'm sure you could probably give me some. Who are some coaches that are going to get fired at the end of the season, and why is John Harbaugh one of them?
No, you had it right first. It's Jim. But yeah, he's the guy. He's one. He's up there. Clay Helton's the other one. Again, these are the names we hear all the time. Clay Helton's been on death's door since USC left Lane Kiffin at the airport. Basically, he's definitely, if they probably lose more than 2 games, he could finally be out. Jim Harbaugh obviously is on the hot seat. They've got a really rough team as it is, so it's almost a guarantee at this point, unless they really just magically turn things around. So those would be the 2 ones to bring up. Those are the most high-profile coaches in 2 extremely high-profile jobs that have just not been able to get it done over the last few years.
And will Dino Babers be back next year for Syracuse?
Nope, definitely not. When I was doing my coaching rankings, I was like, okay, wow, this guy really just had one fluky year where Eric Dungy just carried him to a 10-win season, and he was basically being almost hired as USC's head coach. So, the ripple effects of that decision to perhaps not hire him and stick with Clay Helton are pretty significant. We're still feeling them to this day.
So I lied. I have one more national question. Who's going to win the Heisman this year?
I think it's betting on an Oklahoma quarterback is usually pretty safe. I think betting on Spencer Rattler is a good person to put your money on. I'm not sure Sam Howell is going to be able to replicate what he's done the last year, given that he lost pretty much all of his offensive talent. Nobody really coming back in the SEC that I think would give it a shot. I know you talked about Zay Flowers' Heisman odds. I wrote an article for a website a few months ago about how Devonta Smith winning the Heisman was historic, in that no wide receivers won the Heisman in 20 years. There's no way wide receivers going back to back. It's just not happening.
Yep. And so, final question for you. This is the one BC fans are all going to want to know. What is your projection? What are you predicting for Boston College's record in 2021?
It's funny. I've thought about this a lot too. And, I keep looking at the schedule, and I've talked a lot with you about how really the toughest 3 games come in consecutive matchups, not necessarily weeks because there's a bye week in there, but, they have the game against Missouri, then at Clemson, then home against NC State, with the bye coming in between those last 2. I'm very concerned that Missouri is a trap game because BC will most likely be 3-0 coming off of that game, going back home. They'll be comfortable. They'll be like, hey, we're off to a hot start. We're going to do great. They could be looking ahead to Clemson. So I worry that they could look past Missouri, which is a team that matches up really well with BC in terms of having some really good corners that could, stymie the passing offense a bit. And they've got a pretty good offense as well. So I think those 3 games are the ones to watch. I don't think BC loses all 3 of them. I anticipate them losing 2 out of those 3. And, BC being BC, they'll probably drop one randomly in the middle of the season. I think you picked Florida State as that random loss.
Yep.
I think I'm going to try to hedge my bets a little and say 9-3, which, it's remarkable that we're at a point where we can say, 9-3 would be a relative disappointment of a season for Boston College.
All right. So you're in agreement with me. You're very similar in terms, but I know you were asking me about my bowl projection. Do you have a bowl projection of your own?
I just don't want to go back to a baseball stadium, anything but a baseball stadium. Fenway or Pinstripe Kick Rocks, I don't want it anymore. Sun Bowl, give me Tony the Tiger. It's great.
All right, thanks, Mitch. So Mitchell Wolfe he'll be with us throughout the season to talk football. We'll have him on to review games, to preview games. We'll talk more about that as we get closer to the season, which is coming up soon. This is AJ Black. Thank you all for listening to Locked On Boston College. We'll be back next week as we kick off Colgate Week. You're going to want to hear our fresh, minty talk about the Colgate Raiders. And
dude, you crushed that.
I know, right? Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack_BC. You can find us on YouTube. If you look up Locked On Boston College, we're on there as well. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all again soon. Take care.